Hi, and welcome to this week's Truth Be Told. I'm Melissa Arrighi, the town manager. I have a couple of guests here with me today to talk about all things local government and especially the town clerk's office in their role. So here with me is the assistant town manager, Marlene McCollem. I welcome her, as well as Town Clerk Pearl Sears, who's in a very busy time of year, both following our recent town meeting and getting ready for the upcoming election. So I'm glad to have both of them here. And I'm going to jump right in with you, Marlene, because I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised I was able to get you on the show. You were somewhat resistant at first. Tell me a little bit about the divisions you oversee and your role in the town clerk's office.
Sure. So I'm the department head for the town clerk, the procurement office, and the Plymouth Municipal Airport. And I'm happy to be working with Pearl Sears in the clerk's office now. Lawrence Pizer was the longtime Plymouth town clerk, and he retired last summer. And Pearl was the assistant town clerk for many years and worked her way up and has been a great addition to this very, very busy office. I don't think any of us understand a fraction of the wide range of strange work that they do. But Pearl handled just so gracefully a very difficult election in November for the presidential, many primaries, lots of early voting, all social distanced, whole new book of rules for these elections. And Pearl and her crew down there is doing a great job.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you too, Pearl. I don't think you probably knew what you were walking into when you took this position.
I think I did. At times I thought it was a little crazy, but you know, it's never boring and I do hate to be bored, so.
Well, that will work. You know that the town clerk title is mentioned 46 times in the town charter. Just a little known fact I looked at today. I want you to tell me a little bit about the town clerk's mission and some of the more obscure things that you do before we jump into elections and voting.
Yeah, so we definitely do a lot in this office that a lot of people might not think of. We do everything from filing cemetery deeds to physician certificates. When there's a new physician in town, they actually have to file with us. So we do a lot of things that people don't know about. They might think we just do elections and dog licenses, but there's actually a lot going on in this office. We are getting ready for this election. I'm kind of surprised at how quiet it is, but I'm hoping that's going to pick up and we're going to get busier and we're going to set another record. We set a record last year with 13.38% of the voters voting.
Yeah. That was a record for how many years?
At least in my 17 years.
No kidding.
No kidding.
I know you also produced this book right here. And this is our annual town report. This comes out each year, I think right around April. We try and have it for a town meeting. You can pick one up here at Town Hall at 26 Court Street. They're out back at the main entrance. I think all this information is also available. Is it on your website?
It is, yes.
So it's right on the website. And speaking of that, well, before I jump to that, this annual town report has a really great summary of each different department, a lot of the committee work, the results of our elections, the results of our town meetings, and is pretty invaluable for both our town meeting members and for the people that live here that want to know what has happened legislatively and what's happened in the departments. This is also held at our public library, I believe both branches. Is that correct, Pearl?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as we move to what your mission is, I know that in addition to maintaining and producing records, dealing with such things as just our mail services in the switchboard, you are the key individual who's involved with our board of voting registrars, keeping a list of all our town residents, conducting the elections, playing a key role in both our town meeting and our town elections. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how does a resident get involved in the elections?
So as far as the voter list, you know, that's something we update all year long. We get probably 100 voter registrations a day right now due to automatic voter registration. If you go to the registry of motor vehicles, they're going to register you to vote. And that's something a lot of people don't know about, but if you don't check the box that says, don't register me to vote, you will be registered. So we get about 100 a day. It's a lot of work. And I think we're doing really good on that. We're not going to be sending out a second census, something that's traditionally been done every year. But I think the cost of it is just not cost effective. So I'm going to ask everyone to fill out their first census every year. And we're not going to send out the second census. But people can definitely get involved, fill out your census every year, keeps you active as a voter. And certainly, you know, there are plenty of campaigns that are looking for people to support them.
And can't people go through your office to actually work
Oh, yes.
at the box?
Yes, we are looking for poll workers. I think we have a pretty good crew. Most people will be coming back now that the shots are available and there's a little bit less concern over the pandemic. So I think we're going to need some poll workers though. If anybody wants to do that, it is 6 a.m. to at least probably 8 p.m. on election day.
It's a long day.
Yeah, it's a long day. It's minimum wage, but you do get breaks that are paid. And if anybody's interested, they should give us a call.
So 6 a.m. till 8 at night. And certainly I know your day is longer than that when it comes to that. Now, we love people and we welcome them at our 15 polling locations. However, we're also encouraging people that aren't comfortable coming to the polls to vote in other ways. Tell me all the different ways, since we had a little debate about this before the show started, all the different ways that people can vote.
So definitely you can do absentee voting. That's generally for people who are going to be out of town on election day or are unable to get to the polls due to a physical disability or other reasons. So there's always absentee voting. The applications need to be done every year. So if somebody did one last year, you do need to do a new one for this year. It doesn't count. We're also going to have mail out ballots. This is the no excuse. I don't want to go to the polls. I can get a ballot by mail. That was just approved at the end of March. And I also have those applications by the town reports up at the front, the main entrance. If anybody doesn't have a computer where they can print, it's also available on our website. So anybody can print that, fill it out, sign it, send it to us. You can email it, fax it, drop it off, mail it, lots of options. There will be in-person absentee voting once the ballots arrive, and that's expected Monday or Tuesday of next week.
So starting early next week, the ballot box that we have out back of Town Hall, and I keep saying out back, and I mean at the main entrance of Town Hall, right now that is serving in a dual function. Right now it's serving as a drop-off mail. That cover will be removed. That was made for us, and that will go back to just a ballot box for people to drop off the ballots.
I don't see any reason they still can't use it to drop off their census forms or other materials. We are checking it every day. I don't think we're going to have a large amount of ballots coming back where we would need to make it solely just for ballots. So
okay, you know what though, we'll talk a little bit about sometimes that makes people feel good. They were so concerned last time about every vote counting, so we might make that exclusively used for your office.
Okay.
During that time frame. What are the important dates people need to keep in mind?
April 23rd is going to be the deadline to register to vote for this election. It's 20 days before the election. 4 days before the election, which is the Tuesday, is going to be the deadline to apply for a mail-out ballot at 5 p.m. After that, their only option would be in-person absentee or going to the polls.
And any idea what you expect for a voter turnout this time? I know you said you'd like to beat what was that percent that you gave us before?
13.38%. I would love to beat that. The applications are coming in very slow, and I'm not sure if it's because of lack of interest or because people don't know that it's available again. But we're getting about 4 applications a day. So if I had to guess now, we're going to have a very low turnout. So I hope everybody proves me wrong.
Well, you know, the League of Women Voters, they do a really great job in trying to get people out, let your voice be heard, either register to vote or vote itself. So we'll reach out to them. I know that they have taken a keen interest over the years in making sure that voter turnout is a success. So we'll see if we can give them any assistance at all. One of the things we want to encourage residents to do while we have you here is take a look at your website. So if you go to the main plymouth-ma.gov town website, I was looking at the town clerk's office yesterday, which falls under departments. You have so much information out there, and I'm going to go through a couple of the items. First is this interactive voting precinct map, which we can pull up right now. Tell me about that and how it's helpful for people.
I think it's helpful, especially when the precinct lines change, to see where everybody votes. It's such a large town. It is helpful to see where the precinct lines are, especially people who are candidates, to find out where they can get their signatures from. I think it's very helpful.
And that's going to change in our future, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yes. We just had a webinar the other day with the state. We're expecting the numbers to be in probably late September for the federal census. We're going to have some preliminary maps, which is going to be helpful from the state. And then we need to have our precinct lines drawn and submitted by October 30th.
So right now, as people look at this map, we have 15 precincts in the town of Plymouth, and we have 15 polling locations.
Mm-hmm.
And we anticipate with the growth in our the number of residents that live here, that population is going to require that we go up to, do you have any idea how many precincts?
I'm thinking at least 2, possibly 3.
So potentially up to 18 different precincts. Wow. So for a lot of people who are used to their, precinct, whatever number, that's going to change for them.
Yes.
Okay. And who helps you do this mapping and redistricting? How do you go through that process?
I've never been through this process, to be honest. So
It's great.
This would be my first time. It's normally Mr. Pizer and George Dunbar, who have both retired. So that's going to make this interesting for me and Tony Martell. I think Mr. Pizer has offered to come back and kind of consult with us. And normally we get the numbers in like January. So not getting them until September and having 30 days is going to be kind of a tight timeline.
Yeah, you think, huh? Well, thank you, Mr. Pizer, if you're watching this, for offering to help us again. And you know what, Pearl, you said earlier that you don't ever want to be bored. So it seems to me being thrown into this new process will be great.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit, some people, as am I, are very interested in statistics. And if you don't have this available for this show, then I'd like to have you back on again, just because of the time of year where the clerk's office is sort of a focal point. Statistics of overall what we get for turnout for voting, what our stats are for town meeting. I mean, this past town meeting, it was fascinating. I think at one point we registered 134 out of our 135 town meeting members participating. I've never seen that before.
It was particularly interesting because I had 3 people notify me that they would be absent and there was only 1. So
really,
yeah, it was very good time.
Yeah, sometimes there's a different school of thought. There's a philosophy that there is more participation when people can do this remotely and from home. And I know Moderator Trifletti has been quite pleased with the process. And then there's another school of thought that you get more out of a meeting when you're together, at a location, and can be able to watch more closely, watch the debate and see how others are reacting to different articles that we present. What do you think is going to happen, and what do you see out there for state legislation?
I haven't seen the state legislation yet on town meeting and whether that's going to be extended, but I could see that definitely be extended permanently. I think it's been really successful. I think we were all a little leery in the beginning. It was something new, but I definitely think it's been successful, and just having all the town meeting members be able to attend wherever they are, I think has been really helpful.
Now, these town meeting, when we hold town meeting, there are certain deadlines that we have to work closely with the clerk's office. We have to post the warrant so many days in advance to give both residents and town meeting members advance notice of what they will be voting on. Certainly, our charter requires that our finance committee, our select board vote on articles. Marlene, you're really engaged and involved in overseeing the town meeting process and writing the warrants. How early on do you start to plan for town meeting?
I always keep a running folder for future town meetings. So I have a folder started for October 21. I have a folder started for April of 22. So as people anticipate what they need or what they think they might need, And then really, once the warrant is voted to be opened by the Board of Selectmen, then we start going back and reviewing that list and seeing what's ready to move forward at this time or what gets shifted to the next town meetings folder.
So in many ways, we're in perpetual town meeting action. We're either planning for the town meeting, presenting articles that are immediately coming up at town meeting, or you and I work pretty extensively on a follow-up for town, which is, you know, you don't want people to think the work disappears once the legislative branch votes the article. Really, that's when we have to enact it. And we keep a running follow-up list. It's internal document for us that tells us what other articles need to be worked on, whether that's purchasing through a capital article, or it is a separate article that was voted at town meeting that we now either have to go out to bid or follow up in some other way. So oftentimes we're in the middle of our next town meeting and we still have outstanding articles from 2 town meetings ago, sometimes longer, depending on the project, like a big park project or a building project. So I've always found that pretty fascinating that I think right now we're setting up a date for the select board in July to open the fall town meeting warrant.
Yes, yep.
Yep, so they're getting ready to already do that. We haven't even enjoyed, you know, spring yet, and we're thinking fall town meeting. So I'm gonna move off of that. Pearl, I'm gonna jump back to you real quick. One of the favorite things that you do in your office is maybe not your favorite, but certainly I think some of our residents, is I notice a lot of dogs come and visit.
That is our favorite.
Sometimes I see them up here as well with Chris Bonneau and some Facebook thing he's created with pictures of the dogs. How many dog licenses are you doing a year and how do you keep up on it?
We have a new program, which is great. We used to do dogs in units and it was very slow. We love our new program. You can add your dog's picture. I'm hoping to start a slideshow on our website because we do love the dogs. So we have cookies of every size when they come in to visit us. We love them. We've been hearing from a lot of residents that they're having trouble getting vet appointments for the rabies. So, you know, that's something that's a concern. We don't want to fine people for not licensing their dog when they literally can't get that. So we're working on a drive-through rabies clinic. We're just waiting for some dates and I appreciate your help on that. We've got a site picked out and we're going to do a drive-through rabies clinic. So everybody has an opportunity to get that for their dog. And then we'll finish up the licensing and we have about 11,000 dogs in town.
11,000 registered in town. I also noticed on our website, we're all trying to do more and more of this in our offices. We're trying to do better with online payments. There is more and more of a demand to be able to do services remotely. I noticed on your website directly, you accept online payments for what?
For most things. So you can order a marriage certificate, birth certificate, death certificate, your clamming license, dog license, kennel license, boarding kennel license. You can pay for copies of the zoning bylaw if you wanted us to mail them to you. I think the town map is on there. Lots of different things. We do a lot of online orders, and I think that saves people a lot from coming in.
How many total staff is in the town clerk's office now?
Currently, there's 6 full-time. We do have Eileen part-time. She was doing the reception at the front desk at the entrance to town hall. She's been helping us out, catching up with everything that we're behind because of COVID. So she's been an amazing help, but we have 6 full-time employees.
And you do, I think you definitely need that part-time position to help with catch up with all different areas. What exactly do you do when it comes to vital records?
We do a lot. Plymouth is considered a birth and death community, meaning that we have a hospital, so we're going to have more births. What we're seeing right now is actually a trend in home births. I've got about 10 home births on my desk, and that's usually what we would get in a year. So it's only April. I think a lot of people were nervous about going to the hospital. So we're seeing a trend of a lot more home births in Plymouth. So we actually create the birth records. We also register all the births coming over from the hospital, and that's something our new assistant town clerk, Anna Mesner, has been training on. She's doing an amazing job. We also have a new administrative secretary. So we got a lot of training going on in the clerk's office right now.
Sometimes I see you around town hall and you're doing weddings, you're doing marriages. How many of these are you doing at town hall and how popular have they become?
It's become very popular. Yeah, people are not waiting for their big wedding because of the pandemic. Things have been put off. They're going to have their big celebrations on their first anniversary, hopefully, and they're going to just come and do a wedding with 10, or if we do it outside, 25 people. It's been very popular. I think in 1 week I did 8 weddings at town hall. Usually it's 1 or 2. Sometimes we go to other areas, Brewster Gardens or something, but there's been a lot of weddings, and it's definitely picking up as well.
Okay, and the last thing I'm going to ask you about is back to the ballots and back to our elections. How do you pick the order that the names come in, and when do you administer the oath of office? How quickly do people in whatever elected role, or I believe even appointed, when do they come in and see you?
So town meeting members, elected officials, they're going to have 30 days to get sworn in. If it's a definite that night of who's won, I can swear them in that night. That generally happens for the select board members. Others will come in the next 30 days. Last year I went to the point of going to a couple of people's homes to make sure they got sworn in. You weren't able to get out due to the pandemic or lack of transportation, and I wanted to be sure that everybody got sworn in. So they will get sworn in quickly. There's a possibility that on election night we may not know the winner for sure until there may be some ballots that have to be hand counted. So it'll depend on what that looks like. But there will be some that will be elected just on write-ins because there's nobody running for the space.
Right. And how do you pick the order that the names appear?
So we do that as a public. I notified the paper, and we literally take a list of all the candidates. It was in alphabetical order. And the first name gets the first number we pull out of a box. So we put it, if there's 5 candidates, we put pieces of paper with 1 through 5, we pull a number, and that number goes to the person that's next on the list. So
Did you say you do that in front of the press?
I invited them. They usually come. This year, there was only 1 person that did witness. We didn't say, oh, I like this one, or anything like that.
Right.
Out of the box, and whatever they got is what they got. So
well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being with me today. I'm going to just shift gears real quick and go to the spotlight that I do at the end of every show. And I just try, and I call it the 1620 spotlight. And I'm just trying to look at something happening right now, or maybe something that's out on social media or something out in the public that I'd like to address. And today it's something that I brought up in my town manager's report recently, and it's about scams. We are warning our residents and the public just to be alert and be careful. There are scam artists out there. They will call you. They will use different methods, and it can be very alarming. And they sometimes target, and often target, our most vulnerable population. So it was about 2 weeks ago that we received calls from members for our Center for Active Living. And they had received an automated call, and it really sounded like the person was a staff member that was trusted. It was not that staff person, and they were asking for a donation. So we're really glad that people reached out to us, either call the Center for Active Living, call Town Hall, try and verify that if somebody is asking for you for private information or funds or money or any situation like that, that you check to make sure that it isn't a scam. And if we can help with any of those harmful, really can be devastating solicitation calls that, and unfortunately they're not uncommon, then we want to be able to do that. So stay vigilant, watch out for scams, know that they are out there, and make sure you check your sources. And with that, we hope to see you next week.